Hi, this is Alex from devstories.eu. Terraform Fundamentals, Episode 10 of 13. If you need to deploy 50 identical web servers, the last thing you want to do is copy and paste the same block of code 50 times. You might look for a traditional while loop or a for loop, but Terraform does not work that way. Instead, you manage scale at the block level using count and for each. By default, a resource block configures exactly one infrastructure object. To provision multiple objects, you add the count meta argument inside that block. It accepts a whole number. If you set count to 3, Terraform provisions 3 objects from that single configuration block. These objects usually cannot be strictly identical in the real world. They need unique names or IP addresses. To handle this, Terraform provides the count.index object. This is a special variable available only within blocks that have a count argument. Say you are deploying 3 Azure virtual machines. You write one resource block for the virtual machine and set the count to 3. Inside the block, you assign the machine name by combining the word web, a hyphen, and the count.index value. Because the index starts at 0, Terraform evaluates this block and outputs 3 separate machines named Web0, Web1, and Web2. Adding count changes how Terraform tracks the resource internally. A single resource is addressed simply by its type and given name. Once you add count, that address becomes an array. You now reference specific instances elsewhere in your code using their index numbers and square brackets. Count is highly efficient, but it has a specific mechanical risk tied to list order. Here's the key insight. Count identifies resources entirely by their integer position. If you use a list of values to configure a block with count, the index position is the only thing Terraform cares about. If you have 3 items and change the count to 2, Terraform destroys the last item in the array, index 2. If you inject a new string into the middle of your source list, all the subsequent index positions shift down. Terraform will notice that the configuration for index 1 has changed, index 2 has changed, and so on. It will likely destroy and recreate perfectly healthy infrastructure just because the source list order shifted. To solve this vulnerability, you use the for each meta argument instead. While count takes a whole number, for each accepts a map or a set of strings. Rather than creating an array of objects indexed by sequential numbers, for each creates a map of objects tracked by explicit string keys. If you pass it a set containing the strings front end and back end, Terraform creates resources addressed by those exact names. If you add a new string later or remove one, Terraform only adds or destroys that specific resource. The rest are untouched because their identifiers are fixed string keys, not fragile numeric positions. Use count when the infrastructure objects are truly interchangeable, but switch to for each the moment those objects require distinct identities that must survive changes to your configuration list. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time.